Formula's hot take: Baffert Derby contenders are now down to one. Hi everyone, Trust the Profits here. We're going through our Kentucky Derby top 25 here on February 28th. I'm the Formula, joined by El Hombre. Hombre, how's it going?
Going good, man. What's up? Let's talk.
Whew, let's talk. We had a big weekend there with the Rebel. I think based on the morning line odds, it looked like a lot of people thought Newgrange was just going to walk all over it.
Along
Finished
with the
sixth.
sexy pick was chasing time. I think a lot of people were on
Yep.
him. We had Vic and Vinny on the show Friday
Yeah.
night for a live, and we all were in agreement that it was those two that should have been the class of the field.
Yeah.
And that definitely the public made it look that way too, because I think what do you go off 4-5 for Newgrange,
3-5 for
three to
Newgrange.
five, which was unbettable, and then
Totally.
5-1 on chasing time or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Or
drew which
seven to
drove
twos. Yeah. Something like that. Yep.
which did drive. The good thing about having a 3-5 is if you don't like them, you get big prices, and that's what happened. You got the top three were all, especially the winner Unoho,
Wow.
75 to one piece. Got
Yeah.
there for the fam, not for me,
Yeah.
not for our fam, but somebody else's fam.
Someone did
Um,
well. Someone on Twitter got it. I mean, plenty of people
Somebody in the
on
Tour de
Twitter
Force had
got
a
it.
50 win bet on him for a cool 3,800 plus.
Well played.
So that put him into M Chris 06 shout out. That put him into the driver's seat. Let's go. Let's talk about the top 25 here because, like you said, we're coming off the Rebel,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I think that was really the only horse. Actually, I think the top three. That was the only race, and I think the top three all have consideration for.
Yeah.
All have consideration to make up my top 25 list. And the interesting part was Newgrange is now out of both of
Yeah.
our lists,
I
and not only because of that performance, because it wasn't great, but also because the Baffert shadow that was over his head already. But go ahead.
I think even if Baffert was allowed to race Newgrange this year, or even if there were designs on Newgrange moving to another barn, he's out for the Derby, in my opinion, right? I mean, if you look at a Baffert horse that runs in the Derby, these are horses that are finishing first, second at worst in all their races. Even in the previous race to this, Southwest Stakes, Newgrange didn't look that great. He had to pass up horses at the very end. He was climbing from the back to put some distance. I mean, it wasn't one of those solid finishes that you're just like wowed by. Not like what Messier's finish was back in the San Vicente, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Uh, that's what you expect to see from a Baffert horse that's going to be competing at the Derby. This looked like maybe Bezos of last year, right? So, a horse that had higher expectations and just based on the barn and didn't pan out. So, regardless of the ban, Newgrange is off my list because two races in a row. I mean, one he got by with a win, fair enough. He's on the list, but the second one finished sixth against a number of horses that aren't even on our list. I that's to me toss.
Yep. Yeah, I think he's done too. So you'll note with the screen share here, the horses in yellow are the ones that are running this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
There's three big races this weekend. You have the Gotham, San Felipe. What else am I missing?
San Philippe, Gotham, and Fountain of Youth.
Oh, the Fountain of Youth, probably the biggest one.
FOY.
So yeah, both of us have several horses running this weekend in our top 25. I believe
Yeah.
as we scroll up here, you'll see that we have 4 or 5 of them in our top 10, actually. So this is going to be a good one, especially the Fountain
Yeah.
of Youth. Also of note is if it's a Baffert trained horse, we have put a red little flag on him here, like
A-
Corniche at 21 for you.
Yep.
I only have one Baffert on my whole list now, which is really starting to feel pretty good about myself.
I've got Corniche on here purely because the last time we saw him, I'm going off the El Hombre rule of,
Yep.
you
I
know,
love
you win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, right? And until you're beaten, you're tops on the list. But the problem is, we haven't seen him since the Breeders' Cup, and here we are, knocking on the door of March. And two, right? He's got the Baffert flag on him. He hasn't moved around yet. Hasn't accrued any points. So, 2 strikes against him. I've got him at 21 for a reason. I feel like the talent is there, but, until we see him actually scheduled for a race, I can't put him any higher than 21 here on February 28th.
He'd have to come back after all this long layoff and beat an extremely tough field at one of the majors,
Yeah.
and it's unlikely, even if he makes it back.
I don't think he's had a workout since
So yeah, he's
since Breeders' Cup.
nothing of note. It's not like the rest of these horses that are in our top 10 have already worked and done well in
Yeah.
big events. So a couple notes before we get into this top 25 real quick. I have a shout out to Pinehurst, who won the United Arab Emirates Derby over the weekend.
Yeah.
He was an early
The Saudi
Derby
Derby.
darling. Yep,
Yeah.
early darling. Uh, Fell
A
out. I
Baffert
think.
horse. Yeah.
Yeah, he won it. He's done fairly well. I think he's mentionable, but he didn't make either of our top 25. So, and
He's
my
been.
other
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say he's been on it, but he's also lost in races to other Baffert horses that we've bounced off the list. When I saw him win that, I took note of it, but when I looked at the list of horses that were running, um, I'm
Yeah,
not sure what to think of them.
and
Right?
yeah, it was. I think it was a shorter race too. I'm
Yeah.
not overly enthralled with him, but my other
It was
note,
a 1 miler. You're right. Yep.
straight up G, had to throw him in at 25, even though I don't necessarily think he belongs. Although he did
Yeah.
win he won the
The Mind That
he won a
Bird.
big, yeah, the Mind That Bird, and he's going to go to the Sunland Derby. Although I got him on here mainly for the Jungle Racing Jim Rome Tour. It's pretty cool to see him with a horse at this point. He's the majority owner, I believe, or he's got partners, but
Yeah.
he hasn't had a horse of this caliber in a while, and that'd be cool. I think he had some. He won that race easily, but he had some setback there. A little bit worried about whether he's gonna, if he's healthy and everything is fine. He won by 3 or 4 lengths. That he's gonna go to the Sunland Derby and take a crack at. That's a win you're in race. So
Yeah.
got a shot. But I thought
Got
it'd
a
be cute
shot.
to put him in here. Do I think he's gonna make the field? Probably not. But
Yeah.
hey, he's 25th.
Yeah.
A lot of these horses aren't gonna make the field. All right, so. Anything else of note outside of the top 10 that you think is a horse maybe that is on the brink of dropping off of here or on the brink of breaking into the top 10?
Yeah, I mean, I think we already talked about a few dropper offers here. I think I've dropped off a number of horses here. I think it's more interesting to talk about the ones that could break in. Major General Rattle and Roll, I used to have him like in my top 5. We just haven't seen him race in a while. Rattle and Roll, he's going to come up pretty soon. You
This
wonder
weekend.
about the Rust, which is why he's down to 19 for me. He's obviously up higher on the list for you, but it's been a while since I've seen Rattle and Roll, so I'm a little skeptical, hence the drop down. And Cyberknife had a win recently. It wasn't in a stakes race, but he had a pretty impressive win, so he bumped up a
I
little
saw
bit
that.
for me. As you know, that was my Brad Cox horse. I almost said Bob
Yeah.
Cox there.
Yeah, it's
That was my
amazing.
Brad Cox
Brad doesn't
horse,
have a big horse right now, so that
right?
you would like to think he's going to have one here eventually, but yeah, I know there's a couple that are questionable still, but yeah, I mean, hopefully
As far
that's
as
one
I
of
can
them.
tell, it's Cyberknife, but we've seen him lose, but lose to good horses. Lost to Epicenter. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. So we outside for me on the outside of the top 10, but in the top 25, probably the most interesting thing I can come up with is the Rebel Stakes. I mean, the 3 horses that were in the front of that, you had, and they were
yeah,
bombs on the betting public. Nobody liked them before that,
right,
whether they say they did or not. The majority of people didn't.
yeah,
Uno, I think on our show we had him like maybe 4th or 5th choice, so we didn't hate him at 75 to 1. I wish I'd have known because that was a much bigger price than I expected him to roll out at. But
yeah,
I have him up to 11. I see you have him at 13. I think a lot of other people are gonna probably bitch and moan that he's not higher because that was a big race, man.
yeah. I mean, you look at his previous performances. He's got a couple second places in there.
Yeah,
Speed
yeah,
figures weren't high, but then again, you could also say maybe it was the Withers, cold times in New York, so maybe the speed figures weren't high because of that.
yeah.
And the field wasn't great. Newgrange obviously was supposed to be the cream of the crop there, and he failed to impress anyone. So there's been a
Going
couple
into that though, we
races.
thought the field
Yeah.
was pretty good. I mean, And then how about
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
you weren't overly impressed with it. I thought it
No,
was going to be a. I mean, it wasn't as good as the Risen Star the week before, but
right.
um. So who else was in that race? We had
We had
Barber
Barber
Road.
Road
Barber Road looked good, and Ethereal Road. I have him.
and Dash Attack was in there as well, who I liked, but I think
He's
he's
a he's not
out
a
of consideration now.
he's not a going to go this distance. Barber
No.
Road, I put all the way to 14th, even though he got third in that race. I thought it was a great run for him.
Yeah, that's been
Didn't
a
didn't
horse that
didn't
is
have an
on my
ideal run.
list. Yeah, he's been on my list because he's always knocking on the door. He's showing, he's placing. He's
He's going to
always
have
in
the
the
points, and he's
mix.
going to make the Derby. I think. I don't think he's going to win the Derby, but
Right, right. He could be like Jesus' team was a
yeah,
while
yeah,
back,
exactly, dude.
right?
That's how I feel about him. Or like Soup and Sandwich, or one of those that gets there, but really once the Derby hits, I don't think he's going to have a shot. But
Yeah, he might have a shot to get third, but that's about it, right? And
yep.
that would be some pretty exciting action right there.
All right, so let's go. Let's jump right
Let's
in. Number
go.
10, Rattle and Roll for me, and Rattle and Roll is coming off the layoff,
Sure.
and this is going to be a horse that if he does get it done this weekend,
Yeah,
um, he'll maybe shoot the number one on my list. I loved Rattle and Roll,
I do
um,
too.
and I obviously there's all the questions that come up about the layoff and about
Yeah.
is he right? Has he done enough? Well, this, and by the way, even if he doesn't win this, I don't think it's over for him. I just say if he stays close, second or third, and he's or fourth, even doesn't get embarrassed, he could still be alive. I mean, because he's got an excuse of coming off the layoff. And
Right.
I love
Right.
Rattle and Roll. How
Yeah,
where I see you're at Slowdown Andy, who's coming off the disappointment last weekend. How did,
obviously.
why did he
Yeah.
stay in your top 10?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a good finish, but I liked what he's done up to this point before that. I I chalk it up to having a bad race. I think that maybe he can come back from this. I I had him higher thinking that maybe this was going to be the horse that surprised a number of people. I even thought he was going to win at the Risen Star last
I
week.
did too.
Yeah.
I had him higher. I had him at 2 or 3 or something last week.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm holding on thinking, recency bias, get rid of that. Had a bad race, bounces back. Before that, he had never finished lower than second. Obviously, he doesn't have a huge pedigree here, or he doesn't have a huge history, racing history here. But I, I, I have a feeling he's going to bounce back from this. In the next race, we're going to see a better slowdown Andy.
And that was the deepest field of all the prep so far.
Oh,
Uh,
for sure, for sure,
9, we both have Forbidden Kingdom. He hasn't done anything wrong yet.
for sure.
I love him because of the American Pharaoh sire. I love American Pharaoh as a horse, as a sire. Yeah, man, I think he's running this weekend too, right? So
Yeah, yeah. He's running in Santa Anita this weekend. Last I saw, there were a number of Bob Baffert horses in that race. More Bob Baffert horses for him to defeat, as our buddy has noted a number of times. This
yes,
is the Baffert killer.
and I think he should win that race. By the way, I don't
I think so.
Vinny's doing the show for the prep talk shows this week, so we'll see on that. But
I'd
I
love to hear
think
Vinny's opinion on this. Yeah.
it's a late field. I think there's only 6 or 7 horses
Okay.
as usual for California, but
Yeah. I saw the projected number, and there were like 4 Baffert horses that were mentioned to be in that race as possible. So
well, they put
I
the they
figured he
put
was going to
the
at least load up 2 or 3.
they put the official poster out there today, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Simplification at 8, also
Simplification.
running this weekend. Fountain
Yeah.
of Youth, I think. I think that's where that's the most stacked field, and that will probably end
Yeah.
up being the most important race of the weekend. And I see at 8 you have Emmanuel,
Emmanuel.
another
Yeah.
horse that's done nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong. I mean, it's hard to stay away from a Pletcher Saez combo, right? Especially when you're running down in Florida, those warm temps. This horse is yet to lose, but he's yet to run in a stakes
He hasn't
race.
raced anybody.
He hasn't raced anybody. He's put up solid speed figures. Um, so I'm really banking on, a couple races, him breaking through and making a name for himself in a real stakes race. Fountain of Youth is going to be his first opportunity. Asking a lot of him, but he's got the right trainer and the right jockey. So
Monster speed figures, and like we've seen it before 100 times in the past. Gets that impressive giant lead and runs
yeah,
away and makes everybody else look stupid, but he hasn't raced anybody. This is a stacked field,
competition.
but would I'm really curious to see, how the odds work out in that race because
Oh yeah,
he's a horse. He's a horse that I definitely think could win and shock a lot of people. I
you
have
could
no
get a
idea what his odds will
price
be.
maybe. Yeah,
Is he going to be 4-1, 20-1? I don't think he's going to be the favorite by any stretch.
right, right. I mean, there's some pretty impressive horses that are in that race. So
We just had those two flip flops, so no reason to cover them again there for number 7. We were on the same page with those 3 in a row. Actually, we had pretty much
how
the
about
same. So
that? Look at that.
number 6, I have Modonego, another one
Sure,
racing this weekend. And Modonego had, what did he finish? I don't have it in front of me.
finished
Um,
third.
yeah, and another one that was a bad loss.
Hmm.
If there's such thing as a bad loss, I think it's. I mean, you saw it, you've seen it time and time again in this
Yeah,
prep season. Smile Happy had a bad loss. You
yeah.
know, I think that's what Mo Donegal had, and I think we'll learn a lot from him this week. He's either going to go up or down here, and if he doesn't go, if he doesn't finish on the board here, I don't know. Wouldn't say it's over for him, but it doesn't look good.
No, I think Modonegal, not to break into my notes on him too early, but I really like Modonegal. As you can tell, he's not on the list yet. Spoiler alert, he's coming up. I think
Yep.
he's built for distance, so I think that's in his favor, and I like the way he finished um, in that previous race where he finished third. He was charging from behind. He was closing some distance. I feel like if he had another furlong, he could have made it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
but
mean, and he will at the bigger races. That's why I said even if he doesn't win here, he's probably not done. But
yeah,
you know, he's got to
Classic
hit the board,
Causeway.
and it's important to get points now. So yep, Classic Causeway.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, number
Classic
6.
Causeway. He was third in the Claiborne Breeders. He was second in the Kentucky Jockey Club. At that point, we were looking at him as okay, this is a horse that we're getting familiar with, not really hitting the board in terms of a win. He was like a nice also mention. Then he turns around and he won the Sam Davis by almost 4 lengths, put up a 142, 8.5 furlong. He's peaking at the right time. I don't think he had the stiffest competition that race, but it was also I thought it was a pretty good set of horses that he beat.
But he was
So
doing
classic,
parlor tricks down the stretch. That's how bored he was with the competition. So again, like
exactly.
like we said about Emmanuel, it was like he hasn't beat anybody, but the horses he that were in the races with him, I mean, he's
Yeah,
juggling freaking knives in the background for the crowd, keeping the crowd occupied. I mean, Classic Causeway ran away downhill board.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
And,
agree.
and his final time was pretty impressive. I thought he beat Shipsational, Volcanic, right? So I mean, he beat a few horses, but it wasn't like we've seen
He
in
hasn't seen anybody in the likes of our top 15 yet, but I
right,
mean,
right.
so anyway, yeah, I agree, and I have actually Classic Causeway at 5.
There you have it.
So yeah, we both think pretty highly of that one.
Yeah,
Smile Happy for you, and I agree with it. I just said it. It was a bad loss he had last week.
it was a bad loss. I can't drop him down too much, but I also don't want to keep him up too high. Um, Second place to Epicenter. I'm really curious to see what happens when he has less than 4 months in between races. When he's got like 3 to 4 weeks in between races, he's a little bit more stretched out. But I just think that a couple other horses have more or less passed him at this point, or I just feel a little bit more confident in them. Obviously, the horse that beat him is one of those.
Yep. Let's see. Let's go to 4. I have
Hmm.
Smile Happy. You have Mo Donegal. We've already covered both of those.
Yeah,
And obviously, this is the first time I really feel like the field's coming into shape. We had
yeah,
our big shot. We've had a couple big shockers. We've got a lot of yellow here in the top 10, which again, the
yeah.
yellow cells mean that they're racing this weekend. So it's going to
Right.
swap around a bit. But all of these horses up here in yellow, well, not all of them, but most of them now at least have some quote unquote real races behind them now to where
Yeah.
they're here for a reason. It's not here because of a stopwatch. It's here because they've actually done something.
Right.
So number
Yeah.
3.
So yeah, I'll go into Modonical real quickly. So he won the Remsen, put up a 153 9 for a long time. Not a super impressive time, but he showed that he was willing to race the distance and edged out Zandon at the end. Came in third to Epicenter at the Risen Star, but like I mentioned before, he was charging from behind, so I felt like this is a
Yeah, he
horse
was
that
way out. Like that
He
was
was
bad. Like
he closed, right?
yeah,
But he just wasn't in a good position to close and win. Closed and he showed, right? I think in the Derby, this if he gets the right setup, right? If he's well positioned after he comes out of that final turn, this could be a horse that can really close out against just about anyone. Someone's going to beat me up in the message board for this, but I'll say he can close on anyone if he's set up well.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Again, that's another one. We'll see this weekend, and I think I don't. I'm not going to kill you for that statement. Somebody else
No,
might. I'm sure.
I'm
I'm
sure.
sure. I'm sure. What's his name? Will I can't even. Come on. What's his name? Say it.
Oh,
The guy who
I'm
just
not
hammers us with 4 paragraphs of hell every time we post something. I love him though for
today.
it.
Today, I'm not even Mark
Palmer.
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 Mark
Palmer.
Palmer. You got
Mark
it out of
Palmer,
me.
the
I was going to
celebrity.
mention his name, but Mark Palmer, feel free to disagree with
He's
me.
the best.
Yeah,
We love you, Mark Palmer. Keep it coming. It's entertainment, and we're all here to disagree. That's why we do it. It's
right.
fun.
He's probably got a horse that hasn't broken his maiden yet that he prefers for the Derby. But anyway, let's move on.
Way to Barrio, number 3 for me. Great win
Why
a
to
couple
Mario?
weeks back.
Yeah,
Headed into the Florida Derby, has done nothing wrong, and somebody was beating me up about, or no, who's beating Vinny up about Safi. And if you watch our
yeah,
show, dude, I love Safi. That's
yeah.
my guy. The man bun, I love it. Like that dude,
Tease him, but we love him.
I love him. I
Yeah,
think and plus, like I think this is his most legit horse he's ever had. I'm rooting for him, dude. So whoever
I
was throwing the hate at the Prophets channel, you got us all wrong, babe. How's that for you? I hope
yeah, I
Safi
love
and
it.
Way to Barrio get there, dude.
I hope so too, man. I hope so too. My number three is Messier. I mean, this horse just keeps winning. Lost to Slow Down Andy at the Futurity at the
The
Los
Baffert red
Alamitos.
flag, the Baffert red flag is there, but yeah,
He's got the red flag, but at the Robert Lewis 142, he ran ahead of Cabo Spirit. Who's Cabo Spirit? Nobody knows. He was what 14 lengths ahead of
Cabo
him or something
Wabo
like that. Looked like
tequila
charlatan out there. We'll see what happens when he runs against actual horses, but his time was good.
when he gets away from the circus clowns. All right, here we go.
Yeah,
I've got Messier 2 with the Baffert red flag.
and I like White Barrio just a little bit better than Messier. Look at that.
I I like Way to Barrio better than Messier,
Yeah,
but that Messier performance, man, that was because he wasn't even asked. It's kind of hard to say how good he is,
yeah,
and it's unfortunate. I really hope they find a way for him to get in the Derby. And we're to the point now where, dude, like, and we've been through this 1,000 times. I'm blue in the face, and I hate even talking about it.
of course.
But come on, man, somebody make a decision. Put him
Yeah.
out, and we're gonna get attacked for that one in the comments
And
too.
by
So
somebody,
I don't
we
care.
mean the owners of Messier. That's who
Yeah,
needs to make the decision, or he's just not running in the Derby. It's nothing to do with Churchill Downs already made their decision.
yeah, he's going through the courts. I mean, there's a new court case every 2 days with him, and
Sure.
appeals and everything else, which
Yeah.
rightfully so. I mean, it is America after all, but whatever.
So White Barrio, if you like comparing race times, the race time in the Robert Lewis that Messier had, White Barrio's in the Holy Bull compares favorably by like maybe a tenth of a second or something like that, and beat Simplification by 4 lengths. So he had good distance between him and the next horse. So that's why I think that White Barrio, I'll give Safi the edge on this, especially since he's got a better chance of running in the Derby right now than Messier. I know what they say about, or what Vinny said about Safi's horses not traveling well. But again, this is a horse that I really like. I think
Historically, he hasn't.
everyone has to win it for the first time, right?
Yeah, this is the first. This is the first Way to Barrio he's ever had. So,
It's the first White Barrio he's ever had. So I'm rooting for this horse.
and here we go. And number one,
Yeah,
dude, I am not. I'll be the first person to say you had Epicenter on your list weeks ago, like months ago,
yeah. Add him like my top five. I want to say I'd have to go back and look at
and
the
I was
tape, but I
never
I
blown
liked him.
away as you have been. And here he is at my number one. I mean, it's pretty undeniable. I think he has got the biggest win of the season so far.
Oh, for sure.
Um, I
I
don't know.
I'll go
Like
through
you
what I
like you
like.
said, you made the comment about Corniche until the champions dethroned.
Yeah,
I had to dethrone him because of the two big major black marks against him with Baffert and that he hasn't raced in 2 years. But Epicenter right now looks like the captain of the ship, dude. I mean, and
Yeah.
I really don't have a lot of faith that he's going to stay there for me. After this weekend, I would bet $1,000 that he doesn't,
Chips
because
are in the air.
I think all these horses in yellow right here, one
Yeah.
of them is going to blow up this weekend and take take it to the next level.
It's possible. I mean, what I like about Epicenter, right, in his last race, Risen Star, he won that. No excuses. He was 3 lengths ahead of Smile Happy, who was my number one. So it makes sense that I put
He
Epicenter
owned it.
number one after that.
He
He
won
dethroned me.
that without question. It wasn't
Yeah.
even, and it was really, I mean, there was,
149.
and like you said, a lot of the really good horses there didn't have any excuses. They just were
Right.
beaten badly by Epicenter.
Yep.
So I'm kind of still in shock on that one.
Yeah.
Although he wasn't like way, I had him in the top 15 before that race, and I had him. Once you pointed me the way on him, I was like, wow, he is pretty impressive. But I
Yeah.
never saw him going to number one for me, and I really, I don't know. At this point, he's the best we've seen. So,
Yeah.
and,
I'll be
and we
honest.
do
I
have
didn't see him going to number one just yet either, especially after he had
crazy.
the hold up before that. Right.
But at this point, I'd be a liar to not have him at one. So there he is. And Smile
is.
Happy is lingering there for 4 and 5 with us right now. And I think
Yeah.
you got Messier is a lot of questions to be answered. That's it, folks. Please comment, Mark Palmer and everybody else, because it's awesome to hear a lot of different opinions. That's why we're doing it. It's fun.
Absolutely.
It's fun to read it. So
Thank you for watching, everyone. Please hit
anything
subscribe.
else? Yeah,
Yeah,
please
just hit
subscribe to the channel.
subscribe. And yeah,
You
thanks for
haven't?
all our followers. I mean, we love seeing you guys react to our videos, following us on Twitter. So by all means, keep doing that. We'll be here for you.
All right. We'll wrap it up. We'll see what happens with the 3 big ones this weekend. Take care, everybody.